I'll tell you about your mother and your father. I'll tell you about your mother and your grandma too. I'll tell you about your mother and your father. I'll tell you about your mother and Tommy Boo. Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Friday night stream with you, with me, and soon to be Dr. David. And anyone else who wants to join in the party, you're very welcome. Very welcome. The form was a bit shit this week because it's been a very stressful week for various reasons, and we will get into that as part of this therapy session for yours truly here. And anybody else who wants to jump in, have a chat, the floor is yours. Welcome, one and all, to the Friday night. As Bobby Hoskins would say, it's good to talk. It is good to talk, mate. It is. And an important takeaway of this is if you're feeling shitty and you're feeling down, a problem shared is a problem quasi solved, or I'm going to get into some very unfortunate events that have happened. Come here to me. Come up here. He's here. The cats aren't happy. He's fucking scared them away, but they're outside because they won't come in. Look at the krantz work on his neck, man. Look at that, such downy fluff. Oh man, it's dangerous. Yeah, he's been here for the past week. The cats haven't come in. He's chased them away. We had a snowstorm here, half a meter of snow during the weekend, and I've been working shoveling snow like a fool for shite pay. And today I just thought I'm fucking doing that shit. So let's see who's in the fucking ting tonight, lads. Who's in the fucking ting? I'm gonna put this in the beginning of the show. That is the link to tonight's show, and here is for anyone. If you enjoy the show, if I provide entertainment, I could do with a fucking touch, man. I could do with a fucking touch. So it's paypal.me/Maloney's Digest. I haven't said anything yet that PayPal has deemed worthy of charging me. Is it €4,000? If they do, man, I will go around to their offices and just smash the gaff up with cudgels. The preferred method of hammering that our friends in the transit vans and hiaces usually go around and enforce a bit of rough justice with. Cudgel justice, like they did in the show with Dr. David about Barry Cunningham. Cudgel lives between the canals, eats coddle. Yeah, do you get me? He's a misunderstood working man. Seen the lads on gear between the canals, Dolphin's Barn. Do you get me? Yeah, very good. Okay, on with the show. Dr. David, are you there in the fucking chats? I don't know, man. I don't know. So let's get to your comments first and see who's about. Yeah? Okay, Joel Dude. Script. How you, Joel Dude, man? Good to see you. Danny O'Neill. A man, Danny. Any crack with you? Evening, lad. How are you? He says. Joel Dude, do explain. I will get into this chat very with expediency. Kean Wallace. Well, Martin. Well, Kean. Any crack? Carl Streiberger. How are you doing, Carl? Good to see you, buddy boy. Been a while. Evening, mate, he says. Expunge yourself, says Joel Dude. Graham Russell. Good evening. Welcome to the show. It's later than expected because the kids took the piss. They wanted to watch a film. We watched the film. Had to take the dog out for a walk. Had to feed the dog. I had to do a lot of things. Read stories and put them to bed. Yeah. I wonder to what age that's going to go on to. 25. We have to go to bed. Read us a story. Oh, you're cyborg, man, says Graham Russell. Joel Dude. A few whiskeys will do you well. I was actually thinking that maybe an old fucking shot in a whiskey would do me well because the head is fucking wrecked. No need to be sharing your emotions. Yeah, fucking, hey, what a fucking hard, lads. Hey, bottle it all in. Push the emotions down deep, hey. Deeper and down. Status quo job. Very good indeed. LG, hello. How are you, LG? Fucking Liam, good to see you following the chat, mate. Good dog. He's a good dog. A man's got to eat. Fucking does indeed. A bit of a touch, man. A bit of a dush to claw with a portion of a Wedgener. Wedgener's World Adventures. Dr. David is here. Fantastic. Patrick McGowan, how are you doing, sir? Peace, Martin. What do you like to cook for breakfast? Oh, mince. I'm not really sure. Dr. David, welcome to stream, sir.
What's
Cooking for
going
breakfast.
on?
It depends. Usually, if it's a handy Saturday, pancakes or crepes, as they would say in France. Hello, Dr. David.
What's the difference? Is a crepe a thinner pancake?
I believe so, yeah. But they you melt butter into the crepe, into the batter mix, and it's a bit thin, but it's good. The
I don't know how I feel about that. Did you ever try cannoli?
cannoli,
Yeah, and I only knew it from Sopranos. It's basically
cannoli.
the most amount of fat that you can get in like per square inch or surface area. It's incredible.
What? So
They're in
it's
the
like,
deli in Sopranos. It's like ricotta cheese inside a
oh yeah,
cone.
it's in the cannoli, the tubes, so like
Yeah.
the sweet pastries. Yeah, I have tried them, and to be quite honest with you, a little bit too rich, a little bit
Uh,
overrated. It was in The Godfather as well. I was like, hey, cannoli, where's my cannoli? Oh no, it's Tony Soprano. Tony fuck, my father was a great man, and my fucking mother wore him down to be a little nub.
but do you know what else I realized the other day? Ice creams in cones. Not having that.
Ice creams and cones.
No, because like the amount of there's nothing else that you can eat, right? That you have to carry around with you and you can't put down.
This is true, but I think once what I like about the cone is the receptacle is edible.
Yeah, but the same can be said of the pita pocket or the kebab. But see, they don't drip. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it
Like,
depends on how much sauce you put into the said kebab.
is this getting into the level of smutty innuendo?
Well, it's up to you. Here, man.
Yeah.
Fucking Jamie Leach wants to see you. Come up here. Come on, God, hey, there he is, man. Look at him. He's an Adonis. He's got like this weird cyst that I squeezed a couple of years ago, and he's got like a little. I just want to squeeze it, man. Let me lance that. Fuck, he's very cysty. It's very cysty. I love these little tassels he's got by his ears as well. Lovely little tassel jobs. He looks like the kind of dog, right, that you would see. I'll hide the. Oh, come here. He looks like the kind of dog you'd see in like an old lady's house of a girl going, crying while being comforted by the border collie.
And he can't speak, but his presence, posture, and poise all unite to say, "I'm suffering with you."
Yeah, he is, man. There was many occasions over the years where tears had been shed, as now and again, not often. I'm not a soft
Mm.
shite. For good reason, there was times where I was sad and he came up and gave me a bit of a lick. He's a good old skin. I do love him dearly. I
They
bought that
do
lad for 500 quid by.
they do definitely sense when you're sad or something. I don't know what it is about animals.
Well,
Cats do.
yeah, cats, depending on the cat, but dogs are usually good lads for sensing such things. And but even to it's annoying at times because like today I was late getting the kids to school. There was an awful lot of fucking about with. I was like, okay, I've got to take him out, and I was like, please just have a piss, please.
Mm.
And the more I willed it, the less he did. And I was looking at the watch going, right, I've missed that train, which is then going to miss that tram. And yeah, so the whole day was a fucking write off. And then I'm going to say this because this is heavy going. Um, a very close friend of mine who I've known since I first came to Stockholm, 2003, decided that life, she'd had enough and killed herself. And I had a lot of things that I had to catch up on today, and I had to be the bearer of bad news by telling the mutual friends from my side of things about it. And yeah, tears were shed, and just an enormous sense of guilt. You're like, why didn't I say this? And my other friends who
Mm.
were involved, who I had to tell, well, like, I can't believe it. Like, she rang the other day or she sent a
Mm.
message. But the thing is, look, man, there's a lot of people who I just look at the system, especially in Stockholm, and that like the real cynical side of thing. Her cousin told me that her poor brothers and her dad had to come up and clear out her apartment, and the dad had to pay an extra month's rent. But then they're gonna have, obviously, they're gonna have to empty the place out. But it's just that's how it is in a city like Stockholm. It's like a person has died. It's tragic for the survivors and the individual. But it's like, but we need that apartment. We're so practical. It's almost like we used to always make jokes. Like when I was over here with my mate Sasha and Alan and Phil and Justin Masler, when we first came here, we watched the Star Trek movie where I think is it Star Trek Generations, maybe the
Just
one
where
where
Spock dies?
No, wasn't that. Oh, maybe I don't know. I mean, the Borg cube was in it, and Picard is in it with Shatner or Captain Kirk,
Insurrection.
and then Insurrection.
I think so.
And that's the one where the black woman is like, she's like, we got to watch out for the Borg. The Borg? What are they, Swedish? And we all laughed and went, yeah, the Borg. So we just kept talking about you will be assimilated, and whatever the fuck is going on the higher echelons here, like this whole thing about Sweden being like the land of plenty and handouts. That isn't like that's bullshit, man. That was the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, maybe the early 2000s. But the whole thing is basically, if you can't provide, and you like I've witnessed, it's things like you've got companies like Q Park, who is, as far as I'm concerned, like, I don't think you can get a shittier job. There's two really fucking shitty jobs. One of them is parking attendants. The other one is a bailiff. They're basically you are taking a job, right, where it's poverty skimming and leave the gun, take the cannoli.
It's like Gravedigger or a Rat Catcher.
A gravedigger. I mean, a gravedigger is there's an element of nobility to that. It is something that needs to be done. And let me just address these comments. Jack Lad, how are you doing? Put that up. Shed tears. It's a shed where you go, and it's made out of tears. Many a time I shed a tear in a shed, says Joel Dude. Quick death. Make your choice. The dog or the main man French toast. Oh, don't be doing that, man. Sophie's choice vibes. You see, they are, man. Lassie had it right. Lassie was fucking sound. Patrick McGowan, would you give us an impression of Eddie's aunt in a future episode of Hardy Books in an alternative universe? Who's Eddie's aunt?
I think he might mean your mother, maybe. Or is it Buzz's aunt?
I would have to. My border collie got me out of a deep hole after the old man passed away. They are definitely man's best friend, says Carl Stryberger. Sorry to hear that, Carl, mate. That's as Jack Ladd, fair play to him, said the same thing. As you say, bad old doing, man. Absolutely. My condolences from LG. But seriously, man, that's crap. It shouldn't have happened. Thanks very much, Joel. Appreciate that. Sorry for your loss, mate. Hope this helps. Would a squid be similar to an old octopus? They look the fucking same, says Graham Russell. Graham Russell's, as usual, mate. 7:30. It's a workhorse. I always wear a suit, Danny. I always wear a suit. Subterfuge and misdirection. To my oldest friends. That's a lovely motto.
Did you watch his Real Football Factories?
Oh, did I watch the Real Football? Of course I did, man. I live and breathe that shit.
But what struck me as really strange about it, right? Just how resolutely masculine it was. Because
I think the most awkward I've seen him in the Real Football Factories was when he was in Burnley and he had that skinhead guy who basically, you could see he was intelligent and you were just like, why did you end up here? Like, you could have gone into fucking chartered accountancy or something. You could have gone on to something that could have made a few quid, but his legacy that he aspired to was to be the top boy in the Burnley mafia, the Burnley, mob of hooligans, football hooligans.
What's interesting though is that subcultures tend to be started by men. it tends to be like the way boys have
It's
clubs.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
like like punks and stuff like that, it tended to be male kind of first. And football hooliganism is like a subculture combined with like it's something like a military, but also like kind of like a corporate because they call themselves firms. But there's also something kind of slightly homoerotic about it because what they want is they want physical contact. It's like Fight
Yeah,
Club.
I get what you're saying. It's
It's like Fight Club. They want physical contact with another man.
yeah. I think what it comes out of is the boredom of city life. You know, I think in a way it's a weird. It's the need for tribalism
Mm.
in a world where it's unnecessary. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably no coincidence that it came at a time of urbanization in London. That like the city seems so alienating and big. It's actually something that does bring people together with common beliefs or values. And I think that obviously football is totally secondary to it. Like,
Kevin Murphy. Yeah, I do think that it's in some way it's like it's that search for brothers in arms within a completely redundant environment. You know, it's like I never like if you want to get into fighting, man, get into boxing. Like a lot of the time, like,
I'm
I
all right.
remember I watched this, I don't know if you've ever seen this thing called Team Ultimate Fighting. Gentlemen, get ready. And it was like, I don't
Hmm.
know if it was in Poland or Russia, but it was basically football hooligans get together, and the Swedish lads called Team Wiseman. Always nice price, Team Wiseman. And they were going in. It was like one guy was called the Tree, and his move like, and it was like background street fighting, and they were like just lads who just had a bit of a tear up on the cobbles, and
Was that kind of a thing where like did that emulate computer games?
yeah, I suppose it did.
Because
Suppose it
the way
did.
like when Street Fighter came out, it was like characters had a story and they had like like characteristics and stuff. And it seemed to be this weird thing where like it was supposed to emulate like real combat sports when Mortal Kombat was maybe not Mortal Kombat came out, but then like it kind of turned in on itself. It's like how computer games did it. Like they influenced cinema, and then cinema
Yeah.
influenced them. There's a kind of a strange thing going on there.
What is it now? Come here to me. Come on, come on, come on. He's got eyes like saucers. Oh man, his eyes are like orange globes in the heat of the night. What do you need, kind sir? You're a good kid.
What age is he?
He's 7. Seventh heaven. Heard the fucking old lad in seventh heaven was a nonce. Look at that man. He's got a size 50 collar. And in there's a little bit of paper that holds his credentials in case he becomes found.
Is he chipped?
Oh, I don't know. I'd say he probably is. Like we spent Bruce Lee started it all. Muay Thai is good for elbowing some cunt. That was exactly what I was telling my son today. I was like, listen, we'll get you into the old taekwondo and a bit of kickboxing and whatnot. And I said, Muay Thai is good for throwing elbows and knees. Joe Davis says, I'll take on back anytime. That lad does jits. Shawneen. Thank you for the super chat. Prepare for the 12 pubs of Christmas. This dog is a genius. Thank you very much, Sean. As usual, kind sir. Hop in for the chat if you want. But let me see. Yeah, it's funny because when I was training in All Stars, Jay, the boxing coach, I used to train every Friday with the elite wrestling lads, and Ilya Latifi and Gustafsson and those kind of guys, Razamadadi and the boys. They be in there, and it all happened because I accidentally went to the wrong class, and Alan, the trainer, was like, "Yeah, man, come on, you want to train?" And everyone just had like massive pecs and six packs. I was just running around like the lake in Stockholm. I was like, I rolled before, man. Do you know what I mean? I was training with Pat Kirby, doing a bit of boxing. and I went up against like a UFC fighter. And I was like, yeah, he fucking mauled me. But I was like, I'll get him back yet if I keep fucking training. And that was a great motivator. There's nothing, sometimes in life you just have to fucking get owned big time in order to just be like, I don't want that to happen again. And yeah, and so I used to train at.
No, sorry, go ahead.
So I started going to the elite group every Friday, but then afterwards I was doing the boxing, was the medium level boxing. And I was just watching them all fucking like doing bag work. And I said to Jay, the boxing coach, I was like, "Tell you one thing, I'm impressed." And he goes, "Yeah, if you're on a fucking street fight, you're not going to lie down in a pub, are you?" And I was like, "No, you're not. But if you have both, you'd be fucking sound."
But it's kind of that thing is kind of, it's weird because it's kind of a little bit sort of strange to me because I've never done it, but like it seems that training for that sort of stuff is a huge sacrifice for a lot of reasons. So like why do people get into it? Like it's not something you can do passively.
What's this? The martial arts?
Yeah, stuff like that, because it requires a huge amount of, like, let's say, physical sacrifice.
But you know what? It's the thing is, regarding martial arts, anyone can do it. And I've seen people who were soft as shite in the beginning, fat lads with tits, skinny boys, fat skinny lads with the body of Ed Byrne. But I've seen them all progress, and it's fantastic for your confidence. And you just, being in a like sparring sessions, especially like the good thing is about if you do like wrestling or jiu-jitsu sparring sessions, you can go 100% and you're not going to, like, you might get a hyperextended elbow or you might get, knee in the face or whatever accidentally, but you can go 100%, and afterwards there's a mutual respect and and a gratitude for a good rally. And once you start making it as part of your routine, you get used to it, and then it makes you feel, you walk out of there feeling brilliant. And then when you go onto the street, you're like, you have this sense of nonchalance, which you just, and it makes you're fitter. I've got to get back into it. I don't have the fucking time at the moment. I do, but I've just gone a bit fucking soft. Soft.
It seems to me that like it's in the last 20 years that people have really kind of gotten more interested in the idea of becoming physically stronger, and maybe that's sort of part of the fact that we don't have manual jobs that much anymore.
Well, it is a good replacement. Also, I think it'll push you harder than if you go to the gym. If you go to the gym, you'll go easy on yourself because there's no one there to push you. Whereas if you go to a trainer or you're doing a class, you're going to have to do it, and that's the good thing about it. Danny O'Neill makes a very good point here. I was an amateur boxer for years. It gives you discipline and a way to channel your emotions. As a young lad with ADHD, it was a savior for me. Absolutely. I like when I was training, it would get my head in a different place. It would, it's a great way of just fucking forgetting about all the other superfluous, distracting bullshit. I think for me personally, I have to get back into the training because it just gives you a sense of you can apply it to your life, and it kind of it just mellows me, afterwards. You go home, and especially if you can shower on site, you get everything done. All you do is you throw the laundry in afterwards. You take the shower afterwards. You go home, or you go for a fucking pint afterwards. And it's the same for exercise. Kev Johnston, all right, Kev lad, brown belt job. Fucking have that.
What I've heard the same thing for is actually drumming.
Drumming is fucking, man. I'd love it. I'd love a drum kit.
Yeah,
like it's something that you can just sit there and just like if I owned a drum kit, I'd do it all day. Like I had to go on my mate's drum kit over the summer, and I was sweating. I was and he was like, obviously you were doing it the wrong way. And I was like, no, I was doing the way I wanted to play drums, just smacking the shit out of them and getting. But
also, it's focused because like the idea is it's based on rhythms and subdivisions and stuff like that. But I read of a case before of a guy who had really bad. He had a few different concurrent things. I think he had Tourette's, but also anxiety and depression. So they're all sort of like feeding, off one another. But learning drums, playing drums, it all went away. So in fact, what he did was he managed to get rid of it all, keep it all at bay. But he's constantly internally drumming. So that's his thing. That's his thing that keeps his brain in check. Is just drumming
it's the rhythm
in his
of it,
head.
like
The rhythm and the discipline of it gives the brain some sort of sense of direction. So like there's like an internal clock going on in his head all the time.
yeah. I mean, like when you think about it, if you're doing manual labor, for example, like let's say you're shoveling, like I was doing with fucking snow this week. If you just do it rhythmically, and a lot of that can be applied to life if you get into it, like Van Halen in that song. Oh, what is it?
More
Miss
than
the
words.
beat, lose the rhythm, nothing, and everything falls out of place. Right now, it starts off with a piano intro, and the first time we seen it was Tom Gallen. Boo Boo Dolls was like, Crawl Cop, he's fucking class, head kicks, but it was like, miss the beat, lose the rhythm. I think it was Sammy Hagar who was singing that, but great solo on it as well. But it's one of those songs you could just right now. That's what it's called. Right now till tomorrow. Right now, it's
Here's a question:
everything.
are really good drummers rarer than great guitar players? I'd say they are.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, like again, it's a good question. Good question. It's something that yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's like a great piano player. And I never realized until I was doing music teaching that piano is actually a percussive instrument.
Yeah, because it does. It makes connection with the
Hammers.
hammer thing. Yeah, but
It's
like
hammer time.
it is. But like I just think like there aren't. Oh, that's my missus trolling me. It's fine.
Where'd you
It's
get
her.
that hoodie?
It's her hoodie, and
It's a nice velveteen hoodie as well.
I now call it the hoodie. Because in the same way that we're joining our assets and our lives together, I will occasionally wear her more comfortable clothes. Um, you know, she's not allowed to wear mine.
Joel Dude said something. Once you know you can hurt someone, it's such a good feeling. Not that you will, but it's a great feeling. It's basically like I remember listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, Joe Rogan Experience. But he
I
was
agree with the
saying,
most recent thing I've heard. Have you ever tried DMT?
"What, Jamie? Pull up that gorilla picture there. Oh, look at the size of that fucking thing, man. Rip your arms off." Yeah. But he did
I've
say
done some
something.
cursory research.
But there was two sayings of all of the things that Joe Rogan's ever said. Two things that always stuck in my mind, and I would often use these expressions. One, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And the second one, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Applies to condoms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Missy, how you
Health
doing?
insurance.
She says, "Happy Stardust Twilight from Los Angeles, all the way over there on the west coast of
City of
stateside,
Angels.
City of
Oh,
Angels."
you've been listening to the radio series recently.
Which one was that? Oh, the Alan Partridge one.
Yeah, that's from what the one in America.
Yeah. I just remember that from when I was about 15, when me and my brother-in-law were driving from Ireland to the Cotswolds, and we were listening to it, and he's like, "Mother's apple pie, the good old US of stateside," and I
Good
guess
English
that's where
strong Crosby.
stateside, the name came from, because I got
Oh,
such a
yeah.
laugh out of it. The name stateside, we'd always like stateside, because growing up, we always had like our own code talk in around town, and it started like we would say something like if someone was rough, it'd be like Knackers, and then it'd be like Knackerville, USA, USA stateside, statesider's, and then it was just state.
But that's a really common thing. I don't know about girls because I don't think I spoke to a girl till I was about 26. But I should say they were also 26-year-olds. But like I think there's kind of like a language that grows around those groups as well.
Oh yeah, there's always that kind of or backslang is another one. Kevin E. Moore, and I have to say, Kevin E. Moore is a fine boxer. Have boxed for 14 years, a few black eyes, a broken jaw, but love it. I tell you, Kevin, he's no fucking slouch. And also, Kevin was one of the lads up the woods in the Hardy Bucks episode that went, any hash. And he was also by Johnny Shits, the lad who cut the spliff off the drone.
Oh,
What are you doing? You got thumbs like Cumberland sausages.
Who's the guy that was wearing the Tool T-shirt?
Oh man, sad story. That was Finton. His name was Finton O'Toole. Funny enough, and he was a devout fan of Tool. Me and Eric from Tool. But when we hung out with him in Dublin, like the lad was a bit of a fucking like mess. Like he would drink. Every night he would always smoke joints, and he would drink an 8-pack of Bavaria, and then get to the point where he wouldn't eat anything, and then he just like we were at a house party or like just sitting around in Danny Riley and Sean McMillan's gaff back in Bolton Street, 2007. And, you know, we'd had a load of drink and whatnot. We're just sitting around talking shite. And he just goes like this and coughed. And I was like, what, you all right, man? He went, blah, and he just puke on himself. And he'd walk around with the puke on the next day and we'd be like, fucking hell, man. But a very intelligent guy. And he was mad into Samuel Beckett. And we were in his house once. Like, I don't think he changed his fucking bed sheets for like 3 years. You know, and he came from a very rich family, or, you know, wealthy family. His dad was a solicitor in Roscommon, but he got himself together and started working for a local radio station. Very, very sound man, very bright man. And I just think maybe he was rebelling against the background that he came from. And unfortunately, he died. I can't remember what the cause of death was. I think it might have been a brain hemorrhage or something, as far as I'm aware. But it was very sad that
was he in his 30s or
late 20s, I think, or maybe his early 30s. Carl Schreiber said, we did series 1 of Partridge on Shrooms many years ago. What a night. Riddle-de-de-de-dee. 2 ladies. Riddle-de-de-de-dee. Just me. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Joel Dude has reminded us, Ray Manzarek Man, which reminds us of our conversation we had last Saturday night about how we want to do a album called A Celtic Prayer based on Jim Morrison's and the Doors' American Prayer. So such stuff that we could try out some material now if you fancy, David. We could riff and.
Sorry, my signal has gone a bit strange.
Signals are strange. The midnight hour. Dr. David pondered as he looked at the LCD screen. A blue light emanated, reflected off his velveteen hoodie. He was soft spoken, sitting in a chair pondering about Bewley's Cafe on Grafton Street. Who called the buskers to play music outside McCafe? Across the street, Weirs sold expensive watches. They're rich. Got a big dick. I took a woman home from Tramco. Her friend followed by. Back at the bedsit, back in 01. I picked the lesser looking one. I was guaranteed to get some action. We fumbled. Noises were made. Veronica was her name. She felt sick at the sound of hearing this. And I was like, if I was older and more experienced, I would have cajoled the pair into a 3-way. It would have been fine. I was young, had a big dick.
Now,
that kind of
no
stuff.
more. And then like a flute outro solo.
Do you know the warm progress under the stars? Have you been born? My friend drove an hour each day from the mountain. The bus gives you a hard-on with books in your lap. Someone shot the bird in the afternoon dance show. They gave out free records to the best couple. Spades dance best from the hip.
It's like,
oh man, look
like
at this.
Someone,
free vert girls chat here. Cool, man. I really want to know some more about that. Please tell me more. What do they do? Are they virtual? Are they like computer programs? Tell us more. We need to hear more. And it's like 69xxx.life. I mean, what could they be selling, man? LeBlanc, it's the lads. Stephen Grant, good to see you, mate. Get some action above. Kev Johnson, Tommy Hayes. Big up yourself, Steve. Number
I
2,
thought that
The
was
Low.
Tommy Thayer, erstwhile guitarist of Kiss.
Who is it?
I thought that was Tommy Thayer for a second.
Tommy Thayer. Oh, instead of Tommy Hayes.
Yeah, erstwhile guitarist of Kiss.
Erstwhile.
Do you know they have the?
What do you think of the proposition of this free Vert Girls chat here? Is it a bot, or is it someone who just they're trying to get a bit of a they watched some Andrew Tate documentaries and they were like, okay, I've got some women on 69xxx.life and I want to make some money in an oversaturated world of skin and screens. Or do you think it's just an automated device?
I think it's free virtuous girls, and it's probably a ploy by the Catholic Church to sort of to impose that idea. Do you know? I find your man Andrew Tate, like, he's just, it's really difficult to watch him, not just because I suppose to us he's just embarrassing himself, but also you're thinking like, oh, this 14, 15-year-old boys watching this and they're taking their values from it. Like, it's just like
Wow. Did you hear this? Sorry for cutting you off. Noel Rogers says, at my friend's funeral, a bunch of blind black belts showed up. He'd been teaching them self-defense for years. We were all so surprised. His family didn't even know. Wow. Interesting enough, because it's mostly tactile and it's muscle memory as well. So you could actually, in essence,
tactile and tactical.
tactile and tactical, quite literally. The
Move and
dual
fire.
combo.
Move and fire.
Move and fire. What's it? But he just commented. Oh, you did? Oh, no, I thought he'd actually elaborated on who the girls were. Tommy Hayes says, those girls are well into their 20s by now. Oh, right. Some guy just used his name. Sorry, but we were talking about Andrew Tate. He's got a funny accent. He's kind of got like an American accent mixed in with Luton and some other bit. I mean, how the fuck do you make that much money, man? I mean, like, and he seemed to be a pretty good kickboxer for what I've heard. But can you do me a favor? Could you just hold the fort here, Dr. David? This is the other one. But how can I get you in? Oh, that's an even bigger screen. But how can I get Dr. David in the screen? Okay, this one. No. Okay. Well, what we'll do is we will go back to this layout and just hold the fort down there while I go for a Jimmy Riddle. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, everyone, talk among yourselves, and we'll continue this later. My inner teacher coming out. Have you seen Joel Bauman recently calling out Jimmy Kimmel for being on Epstein Island? I only know 4 or 5 of the words in that comment. Football Factory with Danny Dyer is, the best way I could describe it is, like, you don't really think he could be that thick, and it turns out he is in Football Factory, because he reminds you of the kid in school who sort of cozies up to the bully. Sort of what he does it in Deadliest Men as well, and they're like showing him their scars and bruises and stuff like that, and he's like, "Oh, stop! Yeah, that's well naughty." And you just think, like, are you doing this for the camera, for the ratings, or is that actually who you are? No idea. No, there's a crab moving across the screen. Nasty case of crabs. But, like, I'm not really seeing a great deal of opinions coming in the comments on Danny Dyer, which is disappointing. Heading Amsterdam next week, if you know any good spots. Well, I shouldn't really be telling you this, not in the live stream, but the Rijksmuseum is really good. It's really worth a visit. It's incredible place. And there's I don't know if you ever heard of Anne Frank. There's a queue to get in, but to be honest, you can do the whole room in probably about 20 seconds, so you can do the rest of do the rest of it pretty quickly. What did either of you think of the videos Jamie Deluxe, God, I feel old, put up over the last few years? I know you've been skeptical about Russell Brand lately, Martin.
Hmm?
I, I can't speak for Martin's opinion on Russell Brand. Um, I do know he is skeptical as a person.
What about Russell Brand?
No, just one of the comments here says,
Oh,
what did either of you think the videos Jamie Deluxe? Do you know who that is?
yeah, I do know. I asked him to come on the. I'll tell you one thing. Jamie Deluxe, right? I watched a lot of his videos, and he did deep dives from a website called Crazy Days and Crazy Nights.
The Fast
And
Show.
yeah,
Yeah, Louis
Jump
Balfour and Jazz Club.
nice.
Ackerbilt.
And
Shite.
and shite. I can tell you one thing about Jamie Deluxe, right? He these deep dives were kind of like anonymous. I mean, look, some of them could have been smearing individuals. I don't know, but like a lot. Like there was one story I saw. It was a show called Kids Incorporated, and what it would do, it would give you these clues. So we're like now A+ actress or celebrity, but it turns out, according to this video, Fergie from Black Eyed Peas and Jennifer Love Hewitt were in this 80s show called Kids Incorporated, and they were badly abused by the producers and or the directors. Spielberg is apparently fucking wrong. Yeah, I'm not going to fucking go into it. I'm just saying, apparently, I'm not saying, it's not me saying this. It's just what was on these videos, and yeah, there was yeah, it came out around like just after the Me Too stuff, like the whole Me Too movement. It didn't go deep enough into the fucking cesspit that was going on for years. You know, you had like the likes of Oprah Winfrey's like "Time's Up," the "Time's Up" movement, and Meryl Streep, but yet they were all fucking very pally with Weinstein and what he was up to, and fucking dodgy all carry on. And but the more of these videos, the more I watched, the more I was like, I don't want to fucking, don't want to have any part in that. Do you know what I mean?
It's tricky to know what to do because I suppose in one sense you should know what's going on in the world, but the other sense these things when they're uncovered are going to depress you. So where's your duty lie? But also, the Me Too movement probably got about 0.2%
Yeah, there's people like, what's his
of
name,
people.
Toback, your man, or is it Richard Toback, who did Jeepers Creepers? Apparently, like people like that. But DiCaprio must have been fucking abused, man, because he was in this. I can't remember the name of the show. It was like, oh, it was like some kind of sitcom. It wasn't All in the Family, or it was like something. But your man, I think his name was Bob Peck or something. He was working as a producer on Nickelodeon, and then there was the likes of Dan Schneider, who had the hair of a 12-year-old boy, but the body of a 60-year-old Rongan. And he had apparently had a foot fetish, and it was talking about like Ariana Grande was in it, and like there's a clip where it's like iCarly idents, where she's talking to the camera and she's holding a sweet potato like this over her face, going, sometimes I wonder if I can just get the juice out of a
Oh
potato.
my
And it's
god!
like,
Oh my
I
god.
need the juice. And then like her feet were in it. And man, it's a fucking cesspit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's full of wrongins, wrongins of the highest order.
But
And
there might need to be a Me Too too. Like,
Me Too harder.
yeah, pretty much. Like, I think
Or you could call it Me 3.
because there are plenty of lads, I'm sure, who people felt, some women felt, well, no, they're too powerful, or maybe they felt they wouldn't be believed. But also, I'm sure there are people who bullied people
Or
into
Tom.
signing non-disclosure agreements and stuff.
Oh man, yeah. They're like, it's basically, the show business world is a fucking terrible world anyway, because it treats human beings like they're disposable commodities. You've got the likes of Simon Cowell. I mean, last year I described someone as being the worst singer in America. I would call you the worst singer in the world. And it's like, he got paid well. It's just all that shit, man. It's so exploitative. And I think we spoke about this last week in the Jeremy
Yeah.
Kyle kind of thing. And man, we're just living in fucked up times. You know, it's like the natural moral compass of Europeans has been replaced with a vapid lust for material possessions, and anybody who has visible signs of riches, you know, sports cars, fucking designer clothes, big gaff, all this shit. Like it's almost like they could fucking do heinous shit, but if they're driving around in a fucking Bentley wearing a pinstripe suit, oh, that person must be good because they're rich. You know, I've met poor working class scumbags and like, you know, fucking street urchins who will rob your possessions, but at least they have at least they value like things, you know what I mean? But whereas if you meet rich scumbags, they're even worse because first of all, many of them are above the law and they don't have any respect for people's possessions. You know, like I met some lads back in 2005 at the house party at Dorky, and they came in, man, and there was a dodgy enough lad from somewhere in inner city Dublin there, and I was a bit like, he's dodgy, but he's sound enough. And these lads came in, they're like, oh, they took a can of Heineken off the table, opened it, didn't even take a sip of it, and just fucking threw it at one of their heads in this house that they came. I was like, wow, these lads are a different fucking breed, man. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah, do you know, it reminds me a bit of Daniel Day-Lewis, you know, I drink your milkshake. Like,
drainage.
but like the interesting thing is that around that time, like there were apocryphal stories of you know, schoolboys on trips, like, you know, setting fire to money and throwing iPads out the window and stuff like that. So I think they are sort of weird expressions of power, you know, like Alec Baldwin, the watch thing in Glengarry Glen Ross.
Oh yeah, you call yourself a fucking salesman?
Mm.
Alec Baldwin, man. He's you know, I used to fucking think he was great. Like it's like his brother Billy Baldwin. He just kept coming up on Twitter, like the likes of Mark Cohen, Rob Rayner, fucking Billy Baldwin. All these people on Twitter who are just like fucking George Takai, who I think is you know, I mentioned it last week. I think he's definitely a fucking sexual deviant. Like it just seems like people who put out this virtue signaling, like boomer fucking liberal types, and it's almost like they want to carry on, and it's like they want to push the envelope of fucking degeneracy, but make out that it's for the greater good. And I think that's what we're dealing with in many aspects. It's kind of like it's like remember, do you remember in one of Ricky Gervais' stand-up comedy shows, and his observation skills are fucking brilliant. He was like, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they were trying to lower the age of consent for gay sex to 15. I didn't see many 15-year-olds celebrating. What I'd seen is a load of guys in leather cycling shorts and leather backpacks.
That, I mean, that was based on the I think in the there's a strange thing in the 70s when the LGBT movement started to gain real ground.
The Summer of
And
Pan.
so it was, you know, it was doing well. And then suddenly like this pedophile group managed to somehow anonymously attach themselves and
What,
sign up to
Nambla?
that group. No, they were called Pi, the Pedophile Information Exchange, and they were a group, and I don't know how they managed to do this, but the thing was their association, which in fairness, like should have been checked, was used as a way to
Guilty by
tear down the.
association.
It was used to kind of tear down the whole movement. So, you know, like I don't like I think they sort of just sort of got on that bandwagon, and then I think it took a couple of months for someone to go, hang on, why are you here? You know, like, like this
Do you
is.
know what? I have to say this, like the shit that's going on with kids in the Western world these days. It's like fucking leave them alone, man. Like, you know, it's just to be a child in the 90s was pretty fucking sound. You know, conventionally across the board at the 2000s. but the shit these poor kids are fucking being indoctrinated into via pop culture, via social media, like fucking Tumblr and even education in school. It's like there's going to be a lot of people who have made mistakes that are irreversible, and there's going to be a lot of casualties that it kind of makes you wonder, like, why governments are over there. There was someone commented earlier on about the hate speech laws in Ireland that are coming up, and it's like, what constitutes as hate speech? You know what I mean? It's like, I think the core values of previous, as in what we have been able to enjoy in modern Western society, is open debate. Just basically the right to expression, and somebody, like, basically what constitutes as hate speech. It's something that, I think it's just such a fucking nebulous catch-all for anything that somebody like in the old, like in our back in my day, shall we say, if someone said something that was off color or a joke about something, about somebody, like a body type or a sexuality or a religion or a personal insult, have a thick skin and a good comeback. Like, nobody's perfect. There are things, like, people might appear to be perfect, but you don't know what's going on behind closed
So the
doors.
question is this probably difference between an isolated off-color comment versus when those things gain momentum.
Mm.
That's the tricky thing, and I think obviously the area of speech is just so complicated because I mean clearly you can't shout fire, somewhere or things like that. So it's just a tricky thing because I mean I suppose misinformation does and has cost lives, for example. So like about COVID, like inject yourself with bleach,
Yeah, but I
stuff
don't
like
think
that.
people took that. There probably are people out there who did that, but the elephant in the room there is, I think if you break it down into fucking brass tacks, right? Just looking at it, nearly 3 years into this, that people have, the amount of adverse reactions and sudden death um, has far superseded the threat of the virus, right? There's other things like the data of flu, for example, was non-existent in those times, and now everybody's knocking about as usual. It's gone. Do you know what I mean? If for all intents and purposes, they're trying to bring it in, and you look at what's going on in China, in Beijing, I think at the moment, there are tens of thousands of people that are being locked down, and they're fighting for their freedom and their dignity. And all of those people involved in those protests have been facially recognized from drones in the sky, and their QR codes have all been turned red, so they can't leave their house. I mean, China has a fucking fantastically awful track record of abhorrent human rights violations.
There are people who think that that's just Western propaganda, by the way.
But
And
I mean, there are videos out there of, like,
mm,
civilians fighting against these guys who look like the cleanup crew from Alien 3. Do you know what I mean? Like the guys who come in at the end to the colony,
penal colony.
penal colony, not penal
Yeah,
Connolly. That's a different ball
yeah,
game altogether.
it's just lad from down the road.
Uh, Oz says, anyone seen the Died Suddenly documentary? Scary stuff. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't had the time, but it is something that I will watch. And a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's, nothing we didn't already know. But it's not designed for people. I mean, again, if you just look at this objectively, there are people that are so fucking cynical and so evil in their pursuits of power and money that they will. like we're living in a, and we always have been. We always have been. Like the fact that you look at World War One, the fact that people were sent into the fucking gates of hell, hell on earth. I mean, I a couple of years ago, I bought The Great War, the book that Jeremy Paxman wrote, and you know, you read about the first, like that war began with conventional military, so that would have been ranged weapons, cavalry, and horseback, and the best of the German army and the French army and the British army went to war completely unprepared for the hellscape that awaited them. And the amount of people, the amount of soldiers that lost limbs to trench foot alone it's fucking insane. But the fact that, you know, like Ireland got brought into under the with Lord Redmond promising that they would gain home rule.
It was John
And
Redmond who I don't think he was a lord though.
well, it wasn't a lord, no.
Don't think he was. No, I think he was an Irish parliamentary party, but it was one speech in Woodenbridge and Wicklow where he's like, "If we do this, I'm confident they'll give us home rule." And he was sort of seen retrospectively as kind of a traitor. But I mean, technology is advanced by war. Anyway.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like the boards that they put up in the trenches to avoid trench foot was made. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention, and I don't think there's anything as necessary as basically needing practical solutions to a life or death combat situation. But could you imagine, right? Kev Johnson says, if you scan Hitman's barcode, it's a purple dildo. True. Hitman, that fucking game was class. Then it turned
Timothy
into
Oliphant.
Timothy Oliphant. He was so hard. But like, could you imagine how, like, it's funny because I grew up watching American movies about, you know, the glory of war, you know, and even when I was a kid, I remember I bought Platoon on VHS because it was being sold cheap from the video shop. They were getting rid of like old videos, and
All
Platoon
tasteful titles.
Yeah, Troll 2, 1 was never enough.
Nilbog.
The
town was called Nilbog, Goblin backwards.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Play on words. But the thing is, Oliver Stone was basically Chris Taylor, played by Charlie Sheen, was an account of Oliver Stone's. Hey, what about that grandma? You writing those letters? Nah. Hey, why are you out here? Well, you know, I just thought I'd do my bit. He's like, we got a crusader, college boy, you know, and the way the new recruits, the fresh meat, when they were drafted into the army, the way they were treated by each other, you know, it was like there was a guy in it called Gardner who was like, get your ass up to what is it? Get your ass up there to what was it? Get your ass up there, you fat fuck. And he's like, hey, bubble butt, and they're just like cruel to their own, you know, and you know, these were lads from like poor communities. Like you look at the Vietnam War and you're like, it just seems like, yeah, it was like, oh, we've got to Missy said great soundtrack, absolutely. Michael Murphy said, watch the Hardy Books before the toy show. You didn't watch the fucking toy show. Dr. David, after we finish talking about Platoon, I have to hear your opinions on the toy show. I want to hear a monologue about that. Now,
okay.
The draft for the Vietnam War, it was, as Paul Hardcastle would say, all those who remember the war, they can't forget what they've seen. Destruction of men in the prime, whose average age was 19.
Don't really hear average age much in songs, do you?
You are?
You don't really hear average age scanning that well.
No, you never do, man. You never do.
No.
But like when I'm 39 now, and I think to myself when I was 19, I was so fucking wet round the ears and like so fucking fresh that I would have fucking swallowed any bullshit propaganda. I was full of fucking juice and hormones, and
We learned to dance instead, though.
I fucking spin the toes, David. Spin the
In a
toes.
in a barn, you danced away your anger.
Exactly. It was like dancing with tears in my eyes, drinking pints of Bulmers, getting heartburn inside. But yeah, take the pain. Kev Johnson, take the pain. Sergeant Barnes. Yeah, and it was like, that was a fucking amazing. I mean, because I remember like my dad was a legend for just letting me stay up watching films when I was a kid. And I remember being about 6 or 7 watching Platoon. I just was like, what the fuck is this, man? It was just like non-stop lads being killed. And
TV3 at 12 o'clock at night.
yeah.
TV3.
3 is a magic number. I've been walking for 3 days. 3 slices of corned beef there, boss. I remember the launch of TV3 in 1997, and they kept that end for like after a certain time, the programming schedule had ended, and they always finished with 3 is a magic number. And it was like that used to happen on Network 2 when they played the Mock Turtles, and it was just like a video of an RTE satellite cruiser driving around rural Ireland going, "Can you dig it? Oh yeah." And then afterwards it was dun, 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 dun,
Everyone
dun,
stands up at
dun.
home.
Yeah,
Put their hand over their heart.
home. Cheeseburgers were a penny. Oh, you. But the
My dad had lovely pecs.
we always used to wear our Sunday
Stand around the
best.
piano and sing Peter Andre songs.
My father had a lovely 6-pack. Oh, hello, you. We were just talking about how elderly
We're all
people feel
drowning
more
in
emotionally.
porn.
All drowning in porn. Well, back in my day. For anyone who is unfamiliar with what we're talking about here, it's the Amanda Iannucci show from 2001, which is made of paper. Let me see some of the comments here. Jim Morrison's dad was one of the Navy officers. I'll put this up. Was one of the Navy officers that kicked off the Vietnam War. True story. Yes, the Bay of Tolkien. He was an admiral on the ship, and it was brought up in Oliver Stone's The Doors. You're all fucking slaves. He was actually, and Patricia Keneally, who was the photographer, who was played by that hot Kennedy man. Patricia Keneally in the Doors movie. Like. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put this on screen, right?
Oliver Stoned Immaculate.
Stoned Immaculate.
Immaculate.
And actually, Patricia Keneally in real life was the woman who did the wedding in the Doors movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did she play Pamela Corson?
No, that was Meg Ryan.
Was she in that?
Mm-hmm. But her name was let's see, Patricia Keneally Morrison. She obviously kept the name. Fair play to her. But the actress was, the second name was Kennedy, and she was in Breakdown with Kurt Russell. Who was the actress that played who was let's see, Patricia Keneally actress. But when I and then there was the woman who played Nico from Velvet Underground in it, and he's just like, Pam walks out, sees Jim Morrison getting sucked off in the elevator, and he's just like ha, 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 laughing. It's like, he must have been such a fucking dickhead, man.
Jim Morrison, yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, like he was fantastic musician. What was her name? Who played her in the film? IMDb.
Kathleen Quinlan.
Kathleen Quinlan. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Kathleen Quinlan.
Who did she play? She played. Okay, I don't
Trisha
remember her in
Kennedy,
that film.
which is also an Irish name. She was, as a hormonal young buck who watched that, I was like, oh, she's nice. I'd like to have it off with her.
Yeah, I don't remember anyone really in this. Really, I know Billy Idol was in it, and
Yeah, he was like the Cockney
Crispin
guy, like,
Glover.
oh, Jim.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's the Celtic pagan priestess. I
What
remember
was her
that
name?
character.
Quinlan.
Kathleen Quinlan, sort of an
Oh,
Irish
what
name.
an Irish name, yeah.
Yeah,
Kathleen Quinlan. She was in
Oliver
Breakdown.
Stone plays the his film teacher.
Really, huh? Got
Yeah,
himself
just
in there,
according
so he did.
to Wikipedia anyway. Frank Whaley plays Robbie Krieger. Do you know who Frank Whaley is?
No.
Do you
Yeah, I
remember in
do. Frank Whaley. Let me have a
Do you
look.
remember in Pulp Fiction? He's
Yeah.
Brett at the beginning.
Oh, it's been years since I've
He's
seen.
the one that he's eating the hamburger. Hamburgers. You know that Samuel Jackson takes the burger off him and eats it.
That is a tasty burger.
Yeah, that's
Oh
him.
yeah, yes.
That's
He's one
him.
of the. He gets shot.
Yeah, and God, Kyle MacLachlan plays Ray Manzarek.
Oh
The
yeah,
man from Twin Peaks.
and he was in fucking Desperate Housewives. I remember when that was being advertised. I was like, oh, this is gonna be mental, and I was like, this is fucking shite, man.
These lads are all in their 30s playing
Yeah,
the
playing
Doors.
young lads. Yeah. Your man Frank Whaley. Yeah, he was in a film called Joy. Was it Joy
Born the
Noel?
4th of July.
Yeah, he was in that as well. Yeah, but the
Another
the
Oliver
Joy
Stone film.
Noel was a film about the guys who played football in the trenches in World War One for Christmas, and he was in that. And all of them from all sides of the theatre of combat were all.
I love that joke in Blackadder goes forth. Do you remember the football match, sir, that we played? Of course, how could I forget it? I was never offside. I mean, I can't believe.
So this woman here, played by Kathleen Quinlan, she was one of the tastiest numbers of the. Let's see if we can get a decent shot of her.
She looks like Patti Smith in the film footage.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can get a good decent. But yeah, he was like doing it from behind in the showers and like then he was she brought up the fact his dad was the admiral in the Bay of Tonkin. He was like, "Why are you bringing up my dad, man?" What or something to that extent. Hard to believe that film was 30 years ago, but when I watched that film as a 19-year-old, I was like, I just thought it was the bee's knees. And you see, it's funny, like when you're young, you look at people like Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, all these people who died young, and you're like, yeah, I want to be like that. And you realize it must have been a fucking hellscape. Do you know what I mean? It's like the hangovers from the drugs and the oh fuck, what did I do last night? It's all fun and games till someone dies. Kev Johnston says Janis Joplin was a female Jim Morrison. She was, man, and I think Janis Joplin had a hard time with people just being mean to her when she was alive, and she was obviously very talented. Bobby McGee job. The Dude 2112 says recently bought Robbie Krieger's book. Excited to read. I always maintain that Robbie Krieger was one of the most underrated guitarists of all time. The pure horrors, says Kevin E. Moran. And that lad understands horrors because he's living up in fucking Bundoran, man.
I'm going to have to split because the house is about to go to sleep.
Dr. David, man, you're a real stoic wizard in the heat of the night. But I understand. Thanks very much for joining us, and I can have a little chat with the crew before I climb the wooden hill and go to Bobo's for the night.
Are you in favor of the death penalty? Yes, I am, for treason and murder.
For treason and murder. I've just impaled my foot on a spike. Last time, this time I booked the room under the name of the Real IRA. Hello, this is Alan Partridge. Can I come in? No. Why not? Actually, I think I've it's been a bit of a misunderstanding. No, Alan, you can't. There's no need to say that. You've just done it again. What's the burning issue? I just want to say for all those people again who aren't privy to Alan Partridge, the third series of Alan Partridge, the South African guy who represented Dante's Fires was played by the fantastic Steve Brody, who played Angelo Quaid in the Hardy Books convention episode. It was a real pleasure to man. He was just a great guy, fantastic, lovely fella. I get him on here for Jimmy. How are you doing, man? We've got Jimmy here in the chat. Good night, David, mate. Take care, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night, bless. Jimmy, that's a fine beard you have there, mate. That's a fantastic beard. Some rando Germans once let me know I stayed in the room next to where Janice died. Ooh, not good. Janice slept with Jimi Hendrix. She got lots. Oh, I didn't know that. But I suppose they're all hanging. I remember hearing when I was 18, I bought this kind of cheap compilation. It was a triple CD of like recordings of Jimi Hendrix, and it was distributed by a Dutch company called Electro, I think. It was like the Jimi Hendrix box set, and there was a song called Morrison's Lament, and you could just tell he was fucking off his tits as he was doing it. It was like fuck her in the ass. Go ahead. Plug your little favorites. And it was Jim Morrison and Jimi Hendrix on stage together. And you could hear Patrick, thank you very much for the super chat, my man. I do appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. But like, you know, there's I don't know if it's like the Doors live at the Hollywood Bowl, but you could just hear like Jim Morrison being controversial and provocative. He's like, Adolf Hitler is alive. I slept with her last night. And you can hear someone in the band going, knock it off, Jim. And he's like, a lot of trouble here tonight. A lot of electrical. And he just like moves like a wire and goes, zzz, problems. Patrick, you're a fucking legend too. Hey, God bless you. Kevin E. Moran, he says, wouldn't mind another Hardy Books after party. Horrors for weeks. Yeah, the old Hardy Books after parties got a bit sketchy there, and there was like fights and shit. And I was like, the last one, I was like, I can't be fucking harsh with this man. Kev knows the crack. Big fight up in O'Connor's that time. Lads got broken noses and stuff. Oh. Missy says this. Yes, but imagine a child with my beauty and your brains. A.E. Who the hell? Albert Einstein. Okay. Is it Albert Einstein? I don't know. Epstein slept with Marilyn Monroe. Probably fucking. He must have been a young one back then. But someone mentioned about Jimmy Kimmel being out there. Jimmy Kimmel's a fucking. They're all hypocrites, man. Like I saw a clip of Jimmy Kimmel as a woman was like looking through binoculars in front of like New York, and he was like simulating doing all sorts of stuff to her. It's fucked up, man. You know, it's there's nothing worse than hypocrisy, and there seems to be a lot of it around. And you know, we I suppose all of us in our own right have been guilty of hypocrisy at times, and it's good to try and just live your life as purely as possible by not having double standards. I'm gonna dedicate this next drink to my friend who has decided to check out early. I just want to say to any of you in the chat that's watching this, or any of you who are watching this later on, if ever you do feel like life is hard, just pick up a phone and ring people. I'm not saying that that's the case, but like I said on the title of this video, it is good to talk. And I think that the world we live in these days is becoming unnecessarily complicated. The transfer of wealth, and something's got to give. Something has to give, because the way we're living life as human beings couldn't be today couldn't be any further removed from what it means to have the core tenets of basic humanity. Community is very important, and that's why I like hanging out with you guys on a Friday night, because you're a great community of people, and hopefully I can get on the road and start meeting you all. So cheers, and God rest her. Ooh. Tommy here says, why can't people just be sound? Yeah. And there, my addition to the commandments. Why can't people be sound? It's a good one, man. It's a good one. I got the weird thing is about my YouTube channel is the views have been significantly less than they used to be. And I don't know if that is because subscribers are, maybe they don't agree with some of the things that I say, or if they're not being promoted. And I have seen people have commented saying that the videos aren't even coming up. And I try and address a lot of these issues as best I can. And I think maybe the channel has been throttled from the get-go. I mean, I think I don't really have much more than 5,000, and it's been hanging around that same amount of subscribers now for about 4 or 5 months. And I know that I should be doing more streams, but like I say, I've been very busy, and I like to try and maintain Friday night live streams as often as I can, And Kevin Moore, when are you back in Ireland? I don't know, but I'll tell you this, I just found out Ryanair are going flying. As much as I detest Ryanair for being just the fucking most, for the shit that I've had to endure in the 2000s with flying with Ryanair, I was like, I will happily pay for the more expensive flights. But the good thing is about Ryanair, in that case, they are coming back to Sweden, so flying direct from Ireland to Sweden for, I think, €25 each way. The good thing is about that is SAS will have to, because basically there was only SAS or Norwegian that it didn't come up for me last week. I checked a few times. Yeah, I'm definitely being fucking throttled. There's no doubt about that. But the thing is with Ryanair, once they come into an airport like Arlanda, the likes of SAS, who've had full spectrum dominance over the market, have to reduce their prices. And like, it cost me €1,100 to get me and the kids over in the summer. And it's like, that's fucking ridiculous. It's like, Patrick Cloudy says, your channel is hilarious, honest, raw, and in terms of it's good to talk, it's great to have you and look forward to it on a Friday. Thank you, Patrick, mate. I do appreciate it. And I really do enjoy talking to you all as well. Bubbles in your mustache. I shared one of your videos on Facebook today. Thank you very much, Missy. I appreciate that. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, man, Patrick McGowan, Ryanair is the biz, man. Can you tell us a story with your worst experience? Okay, I'll give you a foray into the world of Ryanair. So one of the and this is a kind of Schadenfreude serves you the fuck right story. So back in the days from, let's say, 2009 to 2015, I used to take Ryanair flights from Stockholm Skavsta. Now, when they say Stockholm Skavsta, it's like flying into, if Longford had an airport and they called it Dublin. So it's about a 2-hour bus ride of just fucking anxiety that you're going to miss the flight. And some of the staff members at this airport were the worst. Like, basically, if they weren't working at the airport, they'd be working as clampers, ticket inspectors, or bailiffs. They were just, they were kissing the ass of Ryanair, because Ryanair was based in Skavsta. They were like, "Don't worry, Ryanair. The 20-kilo limit or the 10-kilo baggage limit, we will weigh these as you walk towards the after the check-in desk, you walk into the security." There was some wanker with a fucking scales weighing your bags. So in 2012, me and my ex-wife were going over with our daughter, who was about 4 months old. We were moving back to Ireland. So I had a backpack. We had 3 bags with us. So one of the bags was it was about a kilo overweight, and it was checked in as a 10 kilo bag. So that went on first. The woman behind the desk checked that in as a 20 kilo bag. So then the 20 kilo bag was then checked in as a 10 kilo bag. And she said, "Oh, sorry, your bag is 10 kilos over the limit." I'm like, "Well, you see, what you've done there is you've checked in the lighter bag." Anyway, that was basically the gist of it. So I was like, "I'm not fucking paying." And I took all the stuff on. And, the baby was in the carrier. And I was like, "This is your fault." And then I had creatine with me, and it opened up and some white powder came out. She goes, "What's this?" I'm like, "It's cocaine." She went, "Really?" I'm like, "No, it's fucking creatine." And then afterwards she was like, "I'm really sorry. I totally understand." I was like, "If you totally understand, why did you have to check the fucking the 10 kilo?" Anyway, so that was one of the times. There was another time where every time we'd fly with Ryanair, the rules changed. We were doing a gig in London once, and I forgot to fucking check everyone in. So we had to pay, I think it was like €80 each. Oh, man, so we all had to take that off the fucking price of doing the gig. It was awful. It was fucking awful. And I got to the stage where I was like, I don't care if I'm paying an extra 100 to €200 to fly with Aer Lingus, where they couldn't be any more helpful. They were, like, good fucking courteous, nice Irish people who were like, "Oh, do you want a pushchair? Oh, no worries." And yeah, and I was just like, I'm done with Ryanair. And there was another time I went to Sicily in 2009 with the ex, and we were worried about being over encumbered, or like over the limit of weight. And I bought a really delicious big block of Parmesan cheese, and I gave it to this guy called Luciano, who was working on the desk of the hotel. I was like, "Just take it, man." He's like, this is really expensive, great cheese." I'm like, "Just take it. I can't be bothered with Ryanair." But the sound dudes who worked at the airport were like, "Fuck the rules, man. We're Sicilian. Fuck that." And I was like, I could have kept that night. Look, at the end of the day, it would have been eaten by now. Okay. So I'm going to check out some of your comments and see what's said here. Scavster, yes indeed, Tommy Hears. Ryanair lets the common man fly. Can't bash it, says Oz. Yeah, that's true. To be fair, it is true. Patrick Clancy says, "Your channel." Oh yeah, we've been there before. I'm usually sleeping on a Friday due to work, but I try to stay up. You should try Saturday night, maybe. Maybe I could call. If I'm. I don't want to mention this because it's my ex-wife, but she is really fucking doing my head in. I have been accommodating and as patient for the last 2 years, hence why my fucking career is in the toilet. And it's my daughter's birthday. She's arranged a birthday party tomorrow, but it's also my girlfriend's best friend's birthday party, 30th. And the other day, just fucking decides to make plans, and then decides that she doesn't want our son to be along at this party or to sleepover. And they couldn't have been like, they fucked up my trip to Hamburg with. Look, I'm not going to go into it, and I feel bad for talking bad about the mother of my children, but there's something fucking I'm annoyed as fuck over it. And I was dealing with this before today. I found out about a very close friend of mine who took her own life, and I still haven't resolved the situation. It's not my day. I don't know why I'm having to fucking try and sort this out. But yeah, this week has been a total fucking nightmare, man. And I'm just so fucking sick of living in Sweden. Nothing is spontaneous here. Like, I've been chasing up invoices for gigs I've done. It's just like my fucking head is done in. And I'll be honest with you, like, the last 3 years, I've just done my level best as a divorced parent to give my children the best quality life, because I understand the importance of, like, when I was 9, my dad left and my whole life changed. And I was like, I don't want my children to have to go through that. So I stay and I do the best for them, and I try and maintain the best relationship I can. and it's fucking tough, man. I've got no family over here, so like everything I do it's just me. So when people are wondering like when's Series 5 of Hardy Books coming, and I'm on my own, man. Like I'm here doing these things by myself, and fuck, it's just, if I was home in Ireland, like my family in Ireland, they couldn't be more helpful. And I just want to say, if any of my family members are watching this, I love you with all my heart, and I couldn't have wished to be born into a better family. And that's just some of this personal shit that I'm dealing with at the moment. But onto your comments. Oz says, worked at an airport for a long time, came to the conclusion 80% of the staff are psychopaths. Fair enough. Lord Skidmarks, I haven't seen you for a long time, sir. As a postie, amount of people afraid to talk about the needlecraft damage is nuts. You've been watching too much Thomas Sheridan. But let me see. The needlecraft damage is, as a postie, amount of people afraid to talk about the needlecraft damage is nuts, especially after the poor Apple boy who passed, which was in Irish media. What a crazy world. The Irish media are fucking scumbags, man. The job of a journalist is to highlight injustices done against people. You see, what happens is people get used to making a wage. They get used to having access to a comfortable life. And the threat of taking that lifestyle away from them, or becoming a pariah, or the risk of social alienation it's too strong, man. We're living in a fucking day and age of cowards. There's not that many people out there with the balls and the temerity to call out what is happening to the globe at the moment. And look, I'll do it. I'll fucking do it, man. And I don't like. Hopefully, I don't even give a fuck if I'm remembered for it. But for me personally, I'm not going to sit on the fucking sidelines and hope someone else does it for me. And there's a lot more shit that I could say, but I'm not willing to fucking get into shit over it. You know what I mean? But I will say, I will say what I can say. You know, I like, I'm not a fucking madman altogether. You know, but the sweater with the oblong wooden buttons is hot. Thanks very much, Missy. She's cozy as fuck in the heat of the night. It's cold over here. Martin, chill the beans. We love you, bro. Take it easy, says Patrick McGowan. Cheers, Patrick. I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, it's I'm just one man trying to do as much as I can to keep everybody happy, and a little bit of fucking reciprocation now and again would be nice. Patrice O'Neill got me through tough times, says Norval Rogers. Patrice O'Neill was fantastic, and he's sorely missed today in the modern world. Okay, Tommy Hayes says, didn't the demographic and background of those entering journalism change dramatically? Yeah, because the colleges that these people go through are designed to produce people that don't think critically, that don't rock the boat. And, you know, it's like, if you're a young person today wanting to go to college, you know, fucking forget about it, man. Get a trade, get something that will bring in money, something in a job that will always be necessary and you have skills in, and even better again, a specialized job. But you're better off having a skilled trade than entering the world of academia these days, because the world of academia is compromised, as is science, as is media, as is law, as is finance. You know, it's like, do something where you as a individual can offer a service that will bring you financial stability. I think that's my advice. Here Lads says, right, you're 21 in 2022. Where are you moving to live outside of Ireland? Right, you're 21 in 2022. Where are you moving to live outside of Ireland? Here Lads, what I would recommend to you, if you're 21 and it's 2022, I would move to Lisbon. I don't know much about Lisbon. I mean, I don't know how it would be in terms of, obviously, you've got to be privy to the Portuguese language. But for a bit, Lisbon. I would have said Canada, but Trudeau is a fucking fascist. And yeah, fuck that. and also the price of property there is ridiculous. If it was me and I was 21 in 2022 and I had no, like, the only responsibility I had was to look after myself, I would get myself somewhere where there's a community of people who just live by the beach in a straw hut. You have a nice community of people who understand each other and go surfing all day, party at night, and just fucking live it up, man, with like-minded people. So if I was you in 2021, I would go to somewhere that is less developed, but somewhere where, like when I lived in Greece, for example, I lived on an island and there was no law. Like as a tourist, you were, it was in EOS, and you had business owners that owned a lot of establishments that took matters into their own hands. And I witnessed a lot of very visceral acts of violence against tourists. And to be quite honest with you, I was like happy to be out of there. But aside from that, I realized that you can get by and have a great quality of life with very little money and fucking sleeping all day and just, make a few quid during the night. And if you're happy enough to do that, yeah. Tommy Hayes says, Gorilla Patriot says, I'd probably move to Hungary, to be honest. Yeah, Hungary seems like a pretty cool spot. I've heard that the people in Budapest are really cool as well. Really nice. Sukalamin, good to see you, brother, man. Don't know if you heard it, but yourself and the lads have contributed to half the banter around the West to this day. Thank you very much, mate. I met a lad called Mark Kidd and his mates on Sunday night. And fair play to him. He played it really cool. He was like, oh, how's it going, man? Yeah. And then, man, these guys were quoting like throwaway in jokes that we threw in. Thomas Creeby, 9 times 5, get the child out the truck. And they were quoting like incidental lines that we threw in to the YouTube stuff. And they were like teenagers when we were doing that. And to hear that those guys got through their teenage years by watching the Hardy Books and having a good laugh, it really warmed the cockles of my heart, man, because we like, for me, when I was growing up, let's say aside from BBC Two and Channel 4, things that were on Irish TV, we were watching stuff like Podge and Rog and Don't Feed the Gondolas and The Blizzard of Odd with Colin Murphy, is it? Enjoyed that very much. So and there was a program called Couched with Barry Murphy and Mark O'Doherty, David O'Doherty's brother. That was really fucking good cerebral humor as well. Your man Barry Murphy from Après Match and Couched and Soupy Norman and Pictorial Weekly. Like he's fucking great, man. And it would have been nice to do something with him regarding the Hardy Books. Dave McSavage as well, Savage Eye, but that came like before the Hardy Books took off. But other than that, like I can't really think of anything else that resonated with people. Kevin, or I was going to say, 10 out of 5 a lad in a trailer. Savage value. Fair play to Peter Ganley. Norval Rogers, thank you for the laughs. You got us through some tough times too. No bother, Norval. A fair fucking play to you too. Kevin E. Moore says, got through my teenage years as being in the Hardy Books. You did indeed, Kevin. Fair play to you. Any hash? I'm Elvis Presley, dude. I robbed that line from The Simpsons. I was like, please say that. Stay Green Pony Boy, how you doing? All the way from Arizona. Hardy Books episodes are now on Tubi in the US, and I haven't seen a fucking penny from that. Got to check it out with the old producer. Well, that's good. So Hardy Books episodes are up on Tubi, or else they're here on YouTube. Tommy Hayes. Monday nights on RT were a great refuge in horribly secondary school years. Do you know what? I have to say, I'm fucking glad secondary school is over. I hated it, man, to be honest with you. Neil, fuck me, I've not seen it for ages. I probably watched the Hardy Books like 30 plus times. You know what? It's worth watching. I should also rewatch it myself. Men Behaving Badly and Bottom, yeah, they were two great shows. Yeah, good times with Neil Morrissey and Martin Clunes. Irish Newfoundland Bear watched a few Tubi in an Airbnb the other night. Fair fucking play, hey. Fair play. Fucking on. I like the way you got a bear after you. Obviously, you like the big bear himself, Owen Benjamin. Burn is blended. Fish finger sandwiches. Fucking not bad if you can get them, man. Toasted with a bit of ketchup. Tartar sauce job. Ozbos. Oz. Sorry, I always butcher your name, man. Oz Befotu. Listen, I'm just going to keep going, Oz. I seen a clip of Buzz talking about fighting his dad. I thought it was a real interview, only discovered as the Hardy Books many years later. Yeah, that was on the Russell Howard show as well. Russell Howard, nice lad, but his comedy, if you're into lads preaching virtue to you, yeah. How dare you? I was thinking about what Greta Thunberg would be thinking about, like the 0.5 meter of snow that had fallen this week. You know, and you could be like, climate change. It'd be like, of course, 0.5 meter of snow because of extreme weather. It's like, look, you can just, I'm sick of all that bullshit as well, man. You know what I mean? It's Al Gore. According to Al Gore, New York by 2015 was going to be under fucking water. Do you know what I mean? And this glacier somewhere in America that in 2018 said, by 2018, this glacier will be gone. And funny enough, it's still there, and they quietly removed the sign. Good things to do in Berlin. I'm heading there for the film festival in February, says I do 2112. Go to Astra Bar in Friedrichshain. Friedrichshain, good spot. Try and eat falafel, and they do great Thai food down there. And just, you know what? Here's one for you, right? If you're going with some friends, this is what me, Boo Boo Dolls and French Toast did in 2009. We went there for 9 days, and we were training with Sweden's very first UFC fighter called Per Eklund, and we went there in probably some of the best condition we've ever been. Like, it was the first time I'd had nearly a visible six-pack in life. Went to Berlin for 9 days and drunk for 9 days straight, and we came back like fat slobs. But we met these Irish lads on the first day, and they suggested renting bicycles out. And yeah, if you're staying at a hostel, rent out bikes and have just a cycle around the city. It's fantastic and great fun. And take loads of pictures of the fun. Missy says, I was in an independent film that made the Palm Spring Film Fest. That was fun as fuck. Good on you, Missy. For a fucking pleasure. Oz says, bum a drop of ecstasy in the Bergheim. Bum drop that if you can get in. Apparently the bouncer on the door is unreal for turning lads away. Corey Savage, when you were filming, would you keep the accent going all day like Christian Bale? Not at all. Or like Peter Weller, the guy who played RoboCop. I remember reading about that lad during the filming of RoboCop. He'd be like this, going, can you please pass me the Pop-Tarts? And he studied the movements of a snake. Yeah, a snake. But he was like studying the movements of snakes to be all like hydraulic and shit. Servo levers. Gorilla Patriot says, saw a fake tweet the other day. That Soros fella croaked. Sad. Wasn't true, to be honest. Yeah, you know, Soros, once he croaks, his son Alexander Soros is going to be taking over the reins. I remember seeing a video back in 2016 of Hillary Clinton being like, I want to dedicate this to George Soros. That man is a fucking cunt. I'm sorry for being so blunt. He's a psychopath with a messianic complex that has made money off the backs of impoverishing nations. And what he has done in America, him and his ilk, by putting in softball district attorneys that will basically, I mean, look, he's robbing the people through various means of extracting wealth from communities, and at the same time trying to make out that he's a philanthropist that is actually on the side of the downtrodden. But what he is, he's an agent of chaos that is ruining the community. And he apparently said once his life's work would be to destroy America. Do you know what he is? He's a fucking player hater. Him and Klaus Schwab. If you listen, try and listen to an interview with George Soros, he's so fucking boring that you feel you just can't zone in. So he grew up like this, and he's one of these guys that has no personality, no charisma, no charming attributes. So what they do is they just attain material possessions in order to replace the missing components that would make somebody naturally appealable to the general population. So what they do is they probably grow up being bitter and boring and try to just amass vast quantities of wealth to impress people, like that Bill Gates prick. But I think something tells me that, you know, like, evil deeds, they don't go unpunished from one way or another. And you kind of think that these people, in the back of their mind somewhere, for all the shit that they've foisted upon the masses, they might know somewhere in the back of their mind that there is somewhere where the soul goes after this life, and their time, they will live like Rockefeller did. They will live as long as they can, because they know that, to quote Christ, there's more chance of a camel passing through the eye of a needle than there is a rich man passing the gates of heaven. So that's my 2 cents on Soros. But he also looks like a scrotum. Oz says, I remember Russell Howard saying Jimmy Savile was a legend in his early episodes. That came to bite him later. Also, Shane Ritchie, when he took the presenting job of Jimmy Savile, going, Jimmy Savile, he's a man who touched all our lives. I tried to find that recently on YouTube, but it's gone. What was your favorite Hardy Books episode? Asks Kevin Moran. I would say probably the Oxygen episode or the Convention episode in Series 3. They were like the cast members we had there were just fucking great fun. So those two would be mine. Tommy Hayes says, poor Ewan McKenna gets shut down all the time for calling it as he is. Do you know what? To be fair to Ewan, man, there are not that many Irish people who are basically going out. I think it's me and it's him. As far as I know, you got Mick Wallace and Claire Daly, who are making really fucking big strides in terms of the videos of their. What they are is they're anti-war, they're anti-imperialism. But the thing is, the general population has been brainwashed by repetition and the imagery, corona masks, Ukraine bios, and it's like mainstream media is just a fucking mind control tool. And I feel really bad for the people of Ukraine. I feel bad for both the Ukrainian and the Russian military, that the likes of Hillary Clinton, the Democrat Party, the neocons, and the weapons manufacturers, the fucking European Union, have prolonged this conflict. And basically, you'll have people who they will say, but they've invaded sovereign territory. And it's like, you don't understand the fucking nuanced history of Russia, the former Soviet Union, the plan of full spectrum dominance laid out in General Barnett's book. That the fact that the project for a new American century has laid out, after they destroyed the Middle East, they were setting their sights on Russia, and that Russia actually wanted to join NATO and they were blocked because it was planned for them. Russia is a very vast country that is rich in natural resources. The wrong'uns that are the parasitic wrong'uns that run the United States want to basically overthrow. Like, look, I'm not a Putin defender. I detest war and conflict, but it's fucking down to resources. There's apparently I think Ukraine is one of the most richest countries in the world when it comes to lithium. Actually, I was working with a Swedish guy the other day, and I was pleasantly surprised at how switched on he was. And he sent me this, I think it was a Washington Post. I don't know if it was a Washington Post, but I'm going to read it out for you because I didn't actually get a chance to read it. But I will read this to you and see what he says. So it was in Kleinman Energy. Okay, so I'll read this out, and I haven't read it yet, but we'll all come to this Okay, so it says this: lithium, the link between the Ukraine war and the clean energy transition. Lithium is a critical element to the clean energy transition. The crisis in Ukraine is limiting access to a large global source of lithium, but could also be the catalyst to spur innovative solutions at home. When the war in Ukraine began in late February, a humanitarian crisis was created and also an energy crisis. Europe is heavily reliant on Russian energy, sourcing 40% of its oil and natural gas from the invading nation. Some saw the war as a wake up call for global energy security and a much needed impetus for clean energy development. In fact, Germany, Russia's top European customer, is already signing contracts with new oil suppliers and committed $216 billion in renewable energy investment to ease its dependence. While reducing fossil fuel use, can I just say one thing as well? In 2019, Standard Oil, Rockefeller's foundation, divested all of their investments in fossil fuels, which was how they made their wealth in the first place, and moved it all into the clean energy sector. So that's just something to bear in mind when I read this out. So according to preliminary estimates, researchers believe that Ukraine is a treasure trove of lithium, holding about 500,000 tons of the non-renewable mineral that makes renewable energy possible. Lithium has become virtually irreplaceable in electric vehicle batteries because of its efficient energy storage per unit of weight. Skyrocketing global demand for lithium is estimated to range from 400% to 4,000% in coming years. Demand will outpace supply, and without more investment in mining capacity, costs could become prohibitive to EV adoption. Elon Musk's dream of lowering prices to attract new customers was already crushed when Tesla announced a price hike of over $2,370 for its Model Y vehicle soon after the crisis began. Lithium is critical to a successful clean energy future. Losing access to one of the largest potential sources of lithium oxide in the world has raised concerns about the world's ability to bridge the gap in supply. What we need now is a greater focus on domestic lithium extraction, especially as countries realize the immense risk of internationalized global energy supplies. But in the United States, for example, lithium mining is an extremely contentious topic. Ironically, traditional lithium extraction causes substantial damage to the environment, contaminating local groundwater and potentially killing threatened species. More environmentally friendly sources of lithium do exist. For one, lithium can be recycled. Battery recycling programs instituted by the Biden administration could cut the nation's need for lithium by 25%. Existing geothermal power plants located under the lakes in California could be another source of lithium, as they release steam saturated with lithium that can be extracted with devices called scrubbers, simultaneously producing green energy and lithium. While California's governor, Gavin Newsom, recently said that lithium production from the Salton Sea could make the region of the Saudi Arabia of lithium. The project is only in the exploratory phase, and no one knows whether it will be possible to meet the promised levels of extraction. The war in Ukraine has created a rare policy window in which lawmakers and the public are more likely to devote attention and support to legislation that targets energy independence. Given the immense political gridlock in Congress that has often blocked comprehensive clean energy packages, lawmakers should take advantage of this opportunity to fund research and development for domestic lithium extraction, with special attention to projects with low environmental impact. In the words of Rahm Emanuel, the former White House chief of staff, you never want a serious crisis to go to waste. So there you have it. Ukraine is absolutely rich in lithium. Have you watched Hypernormalization by Adam Curtis? Yes, I did. And I watched that back to back with a film by, is it Mark Scahill? It's called Dirty Wars. And Dirty Wars I watched immediately before I watched Hypernormalization. And Dirty Wars answered the open question from Adam Curtis's Hypernormalization regarding basically before Afghanistan turned into the basket case that it was under the American invasion, or let's say the occupation of the coalition forces. Afghanistan was basically consisted of agricultural lands that were often disputed So what would happen is you had rival neighbors giving bogus intel to the Americans, saying these guys are Taliban, and they would drone strike these farming villages, and that was basically addressed in Scahill's Dirty Wars, and then it was asked in the other one. But anyway, so yeah, hypernormalization. It's been a long time since I watched it. I think it's been like 4 years. I recommend the books of Dolores Cannon, says Missy. I'll put that one up there. R. Gillard, is this the virtual pub that you dreamt of when dressed as Steve Jobs for your rich uncle? Ah, yeah. I have better fucking things to be doing now than bacon scones. Wanna go halves on an old muck spreader, says Dixon Cider. Oh ho, spread muck, hey. Tommy Hayes, I purposely avoided the toy show, which is sad really because of the happiness it used to bring. But as you say, the nature of how Irish media can taint and skew things fit the script. Fuck Irish media, man. You know, it's they're making good money for being mediocre and just talking shite. You know, they basically treat the Irish public like mushrooms. They keep them in the dark and they feed them shite. And like Reddit during last year with all the whole vaccination thing, I remember like someone was up going, fuck anti-maskers. You know, these are people who are employed by government agencies, I'm convinced, to just basically confuse people that lack critical thinking. And I remember seeing a thing that was like, I'm so fucking proud of our young people. It was on the Irish subreddit, and it was a whole load of fucking teenagers queuing up to get the jab. And I was just like, fuck me, man. You know, it's like, you could probably say something like, I mean, and like, this is how the genocide happened in Rwanda, because there was a lack of critical thinking and the Hutus kept spreading hate and genocidal propaganda and radicalized their audience, and one day they just fucking slaughtered hundreds of thousands of like different tribe members. And the way things were going during the pandemic was there was a clear delineation of the clean versus the unclean, the enlightened versus the profane. And the dude 2112 said Ireland subreddit is just embarrassing, to be honest. Yeah, it's fucking terrible. It's cuntish. That's what I'd say. The Mujahideen, is it, says lick out beach. How are you, lick out beach? Good to see you. Hey, Ireland is finished, says Patrick McGowan. Man, you just think what Michael Collins and Connolly and those who died in Easter Rising, what they fucking sacrificed for Ireland to be free from the yoke of colonial oppression, to basically have it sold out by skeeving, gombeen fucking shysters whose loyalty lies with the fucking Silicon Valley giants, the financial elites. It's a tax haven. And it breaks my heart, man, because I have nothing but love for my nation. But it's a fucking house divided upon itself. And yeah, it sucks. But it's we're nearly at 1:53. I have to go to bed because I've got to be up early in the morning. But RMF, nice to see you. You got in there late, but fucking here you are. Neo, never would I have thought society would come to this during my lifetime. As that weird Chinese put down says, may you live to see interesting times. At least it's not boring. And well, welcome to the Matrix, Neo. At the end of the day, look, all we can do as individuals is just do good be the change you want to see in the world. And on the macro level, it's very difficult because it's fucking stitched up. But as the old saying goes, and I'll leave you with this one, it only takes one match to burn 1,000 trees. So don't underestimate what you can do at a grassroots ground level. And evil will always be brought into the light. And I saw a video the other day of Jacinta Ardern, and she's a fucking spiteful prick of a woman. And that's someone who is tripping out on power. You think that is air, you're breathing. But anyway, look, Cy Bennett. All right, Cy, mate. How's it going, brother? Not too bad, but I'm going to have to go as that is the 3:00 bell. For everybody, I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in, and I always enjoy chatting to you. And look, I'll always be as real as I can be. And if you've enjoyed this, I'm going to put this up, paypal.me/Maloney's Digest. I would appreciate a tip. Doesn't matter how small or how big, if you or if you want to tip this later on, if that's possible. If not, if you want to go to Patreon/Hardy Books, set it and forget it. If you like this content, what I should do is I would really like if there's anyone out there in the chat that wants to help me out with clipping some of the good bits, so I can just like the Jimmy Dore show. He'll do a live stream. He'll take the live stream off, and then he'll just break up the live stream into smaller videos, because I know I'm doing only long form content, and there's a lot to listen to. So I do understand that. For anybody else who's enjoyed listening to this from start to finish, I commend you for finding my takes interesting and entertaining. And I just want to say, have a great night, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Look after yourself. And regarding what I've experienced this weekend, everyone around you, your family, your friends, your acquaintances, let them know how much they mean to you. And if you have any personal difficulties, reach out to someone you trust, because it's important. And look, if any of you are really fucking stuck and you need to chat, I'm on Twitter, Eddie Durkin. Just fucking hit me up if you're feeling like you're, that you need to fucking just let some steam off. Hit me up, all right? But look after yourselves and have a nice weekend. Good luck and God bless. I'm leaving the studio now. Thank you for tonight. Chuck your allure.